Now, The Hunt Palmer Show.
He needs care and treatment.
You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show. Brought to you by Daryl May of Trustee Properties on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Is this a great country or what?
Locking down the middle of the day. Live from the Raising Cane studio. This is Hunt Palmer.
Welcome in. Hunt Palmer coming to you from the Raising Cane studio downtown in the capital city on this Tuesday. Hope your work week's off to a good start. Jacob Beck, Cassie Spazzali back there on the ones and twos. We got a lot to get to over the next couple of hours. Is it now or never for Spencer Rattler? I'll give you my thoughts in the second segment today. Glen West going to be with us talking Tigers at 1:30. We'll welcome Colin Jeter, former Tiger, tight end with the LSU Alumni Association, in studio at 2 o'clock, as he is every single week, and Sharif Ishak down in New Orleans talking all things Saints at 2:30. Playoff baseball is underway from Cleveland. Detroit leads the Guardians 1-0 behind Tarek Skubal, who looks really good early in that game. The Cubs and the San Diego Padres coming up in an hour and 7 minutes from right now. Yankees Red Sox a little bit later tonight. Just a lot to get to in the world of sports. So let's crank it up the way we do every single day. Our Genesis opening drive.
It's time for Hunt's Opening Drive, presented by Genesis of Baton Rouge.
It's a bye week. It's going to be a long 2 weeks for LSU. Maybe not as much for the coaches and the players, but for the fan base and for us, the folks that are creating content around LSU football, like, it's going to be a long 2 weeks because you're on a sour note right now. I mean, if LSU had gone to Oxford and played well and won, it'd be a joyous 2 weeks. You'd be looking at South Carolina going, that team doesn't look all that great. I mean, you've got 2 losses to play with here. Like, you're a threat to do anything that you want to do. And while that actually does remain true, LSU's goals are all well in front of them. The feeling around the program, in the fan base, in our seat, with the content we create is not a lot of sunshine, not a lot of roses currently. And that's for good reason. LSU has not played well on offense. And I went on my rant yesterday about the running game, about how it's a virus that's taken the entire program down, and I'm not going to sit here and do that again today. But I have dug further into this. There's no new information for us to work off of. The last thing we've got is LSU's anemic effort in Oxford on the offensive side and running the football. So I wanted to go in and not necessarily give you strong opinions in this segment. Those are out there, and there's a time and place for them, but this is not a time for, well, right tackle and left guard, like, you've got to play better. Like, that's an opinion. The backup quarterback needs to be out there. That's an opinion. The quarterback is this and that. Like, these are opinions. I want to deal in actual objective data, okay? Because that can't be argued against. It just is what it is. And when you look at the running game, I went into a little bit of this yesterday. We're going to go into this, and then we're going to get to the passing game and the lack of the deep ball. But you look at the running game. I took the 3 games LSU played against Power 4 competition: Clemson, Florida, Ole Miss. I don't care about Southeastern. I don't care about Tech. But I took those 3 games. Caden Durham, Harlem Berry, Xavion Thomas, Juwan Johnson, those have been the primary backs. Caleb Jackson had a 10-yard run in the game against Ole Miss. But I took the 4 primary backs: Caden Durham, Harlem Berry, Xavion Thomas, in this case, counts as that, and then Juwan Johnson. 60 carries for those 4 guys. 60 in those 3 games. 5 of the 60 have gone for 10 yards or more. Now, I'm not suggesting that the test of a ground game is how often you can get 10 yards on the ground, because that doesn't happen all that often. But it should happen, my opinion, more than 8% of the time. Right? And you're not creating any sort of chunk plays with that. You're just not. You had 1 10-yard run on Saturday, and it came from Caleb Jackson on 3rd and 20. That's objective data. You did it 1 time. You had 2 of them against Clemson for Thomas. You had 2 of them against Clemson for Durham, and then you had 1 against Florida. So that's just, it is a severe lack of hitting a seam and getting up the field. We know, again, some subjective deal, but you can measure these guys on a stopwatch. Caden Durham's plenty fast to run 10 yards. Harlem Berry It's plenty fast, plenty explosive to get 10 yards. Xavier Thomas has been an explosive SEC playmaker for 4 years. And you're not creating those chunk plays, 5 out of 60 in those 3 games. Now, I think more concerning, because I didn't think LSU was going to be a great running team this year. But I did think they'd be an explosive passing offense. And here's the data for Garrett Nussmeier in this passing offense. Nussmeier is completing 81% of his throws that travel less than 10 yards. This is LSU's most effective way to move the ball, is throwing the ball around the line of scrimmage. The percentage dips to 50% beyond 10 yards. Now, that is to be expected. You're going to complete a lot more 1-yard throws than 19-yard throws. But you dip from 81 to 50%. Now, let's look back at last year. Garrett Nussmeier completed 31 passes that traveled 20 yards in the air. He completed 31 passes that went 20 yards. That's 2.3 per game. You're hitting a couple of the big plays down the field every game. This year, through 5 games, he's completed 7 that have traveled 20 yards. What does that break down per game? 1.4. So your drop-off is 2.3 to 1.4. That doesn't seem like a big deal. But when you extrapolate it out, you had 31 of them last year. You're on pace for 18 this year. That's 13 less big plays down the field. 1, they're productive. They gain a lot of yards. 2, they back the defense up to help you run the ball. And 3, which is a little bit more intangible, they're momentum plays. They get your crowd going. They silence a road crowd. They just create a little juice within your team. And you're not doing it. You're on pace to only do that 18 times instead of 31. Nussmeier this year on 20-plus yard passes that travel. It's not a screenplay that gets run for 20 yards. Air travel 20-plus yards outside the numbers. So the shots down the sideline, big plays outside the numbers. He's 1 for 13 on those passes. That's 8%. Last year, he was 28% on those throws. 15 out of 54, 20-plus yards outside the numbers. And 4 of those 15 plays went for deep touchdowns. This is the play to Berrien Brown to start the Tech game. This is the play to Chris Hilton back on Saturday where he cooked the defense and Nussmeier couldn't get it out there. You're 8% on balls that travel 20 yards outside the numbers when last year you were close to 30%. You were 28%. And here's the deal with that. And here's where I mix in some opinion, but I could back it up with some data. Your wide receiver core, as it is currently constituted, appears to be more explosive than the group you had out there last year. Chris Hilton is healthy. He was not last year. Berrien Brown is on your team. He was not last year. Nick Anderson, who was a big play threat for Oklahoma, is on the team and playing significant snaps. Last year's group was led by Aaron Anderson, who's not necessarily a deep play guy. He's more of a work the middle of the field guy. And Kyron Lacey, who's not necessarily a big play guy, more of a physical body that helps you down the field. But, of course, you know, the touchdown against Ole Miss last year to win the game, more than 20 yards outside the numbers. You're not getting those plays. Your efficiency level on those throws is almost zero. And again, this is not the part of the show where I'm going to tell you why I think that is. But if I've got the data, the guy who sits on the 4th floor in the Cubs shirt and just picks through the internet, if I have this data, they've got way more than this. They know where their shortcomings are. And you've just got to be better in some of these areas. And so it's now for them to determine on this bye week, is it this way because of an injury? Is it this way because of poor play calling? Is it this way because of lack of execution? Is it this way because the wide receivers aren't separating enough? Is it this way because the quarterback can't throw it that far? Like, I don't know the answer. I'm not in there in the meeting room. I'm not at practice. I just know that the data suggests you're grossly inefficient just about everywhere. You've got to find something that you're good at. Last bit of opinion on this before we change topic. If you ask me, Hunt, like, what do they have a better chance of getting fixed here? I would say it's pretty simple to me. It's the passing game. I'm not ruling out help and hope for the running game, but you would have to really believe, because they haven't run the ball for 3 years, and your offensive line is healthy currently, and you're just not very good. On the other side, you've got a quarterback who has proven he can do this, and wide receivers who have proven they can do this. They're just not right now. So to me, the best chance is for those guys to return to form rather than the guys up front emerging as something completely new and different. It's not exactly a harbinger of great hope to come here, because you understand that without a running game, you're in some trouble. But if you're looking for a shot of life here and something to get better, they can be better throwing the ball down the field than they are right now. They can do it more often. They can do it more effectively. They have the personnel to get that done. And to this point, they just haven't done it. And that's really, really disappointing. But you've got a week off now. And whether the most important thing is getting some reps and making sure that you're on the right track to getting better at it, or getting no reps and letting the quarterback heal up from whatever injuries are plaguing him, if they are, use this time wisely and make it happen. If it needs to be that Nussmeier sits and Michael Van Buren gets more reps so that he's available to be an option for this team moving forward, so be it. So be it. We'll just have to see, but it's up to them to fix these things during the bye week. I've got a story up at LouisianaSports.net right now that details these numbers, kind of lays them all out, including the Pro Football Focus grades for the offensive lineman, which we mentioned on the air yesterday. Just a lot of numbers that indicate things are not sunshine and roses for the Fighting Tiger offense at this point. That's our Genesis opening drive here on this Tuesday. Tie game up there in Cleveland. It's an infield hit that scores a run with 2 outs for the Guardians. 1-1 against Tarek Skubal and the Tigers. Keep you posted on that as we continue to churn through this Tuesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Highland Insurance Group, HighlandIG.com is that website. Just turned on the TV in here, put it on WBRZ to get ready for the Cubs game in an hour, and they had the weather forecast up, and it had a storm that's out there in the Atlantic, as they call it. It's a fish storm. Not going to touch any land, which is a very, very good thing. But we know at this part of the world that those storms are always a risk for us. So make sure that your insurance policy is ready to respond in the event of a storm. I'll tell you this, if you think you're going to be able to make a change to it once a storm gets in the Gulf, I've got news for you. It doesn't work that way. They'll put a moratorium on any new coverage once that threat emerges. So you got to make sure proactively your insurance program is set up properly. And the Highland Insurance Group will always, always, always help you with that. That's what Jonathan Carver and his team do. They're experts from a coverage perspective. They'll make sure that whether it's property, cyber, EPL, crime, whatever the case may be, whatever policy you've got in place, whatever program you've got in place for your business, they'll make sure that it's with the right market, at the right price, with the proper coverages. That's what they promise to you. That's why they get clients. That's why they keep clients at the Highland Insurance Group. Check them out online, HighlandIG.com. It's the Highland Insurance Group, HighlandIG.com.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Daryl May of Trustee Properties. Looking for land to hunt or build? Call Daryl May at Trustee Properties.
Tuesday show is brought to you by Daryl May of Trustee Properties. You're looking for that hunting land you have always dreamt of having. Daryl May can help you out with that. He's a licensed realtor here in Louisiana and in the state of Mississippi. So whether you're looking in the Felicianas, up in Point Capee, whether you're looking up towards Woodville, Mississippi, up to Natchez, anywhere in the state of Mississippi, you're looking for that land to make your own for this hunting season and the rest of them moving forward. Daryl May is happy to help you out with that. If you're just looking for some property outside the city to make a secondary home or some agriculture, or just to get out of the hustle and bustle like Daryl did. He's born and raised in Baton Rouge, Catholic high grad, decided, hey, going to make St. Francisville home, just a little bit slower pace of living. That sounds interesting to you. Daryl May can help you out with all of that. Give Daryl a call. His cell phone number is 225, obviously, 268-6915. That's 268-6915. Daryl May of Trusty Properties. That's a name you can trust. Let's talk some Saints here. I have a kind of an ultimatum here of sorts. This is not an indictment on his career, but it is an ultimatum. I believe the next 2 weeks are now or never for Spencer Rattler as the prospective franchise quarterback of the New Orleans Saints. Let me be very clear. I always thought it was a very, very long shot that a fifth-round draft selection in Spencer Rattler was going to be the 10-year face of the New Orleans Saints franchise. It's certainly possible. It happens. It's rare. But it was worth a shot. You can't get a franchise quarterback unless you go get one, right? You can't produce a franchise quarterback unless you draft them, sign them as a free agent, or trade for them. And so I thought it was a reasonable risk to take to go get Spencer Rattler. Talented guy, fifth-round pick. Let's see what happens. And at this point, you've got an 0-10 record over basically three head coaches if you count Darren Rizzi as the interim. And I'm not telling you that Spencer Rattler's time is done. I'm telling you the next 2 weeks, it's now or never. Let's go through some numbers with what Spencer Rattler has done this season. He is averaging 5.2 yards per attempt. The only quarterbacks with significant snaps under their belt this year that are worse than that 5.2 yards per attempt are Bryce Young, Joe Flacco, and Cam Ward, who are all in various classes but unproductive nonetheless. Rattler's averaging 7.8 yards per completion. That is very, 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 very low. Chris Olave, Brandon Cooks, Rashid Shaheed are combined averaging 8.3 yards per catch. That is almost unthinkably low. When you consider how explosive Shaheed has proven himself to be, when you think about Chris Olave being a first-round wide receiver, you think about what Brandon Cooks has been over his time in the NFL, though he has lost a step, to have them averaging 8 yards, not per air yards, that's per catch, 8.3 yards. That is way, way low. The Saints this year have only generated 4 20-plus yard passing plays. That is dead last in the National Football League. It's lowest among active full-time starters, obviously, and the Saints do not have, to their name, a 40-yard passing play this season. They don't have one in a month. So what you're seeing from all this data is it's a dink and duck offense. It's training wheels. It's keeping everything vanilla. It's trying not to turn the ball over. Don't try to do too much. That's all you're really getting from Spencer Rattler. And the result of that is just not a lot of production in terms of points. Only 6 teams in the NFL have scored fewer touchdowns than the Saints. Only 5 teams in the NFL have fewer passing yards than the New Orleans Saints. So you have kept the training wheels on this guy for 10 professional starts, 4 under this regime, right? They got to come off the next 2 weeks. They have to come off now. You got to see what you've got. And if it continues to be a dink and dunk fest where you don't score touchdowns, you don't gain yards, you don't win any games, then it's time to move on. Spencer Rattler is 25 years old and played a ton of college football. You know these guys that break out late in their college careers like a one-year starter and then jump in to the NFL? Like those guys, they need to play a little bit more. Spencer Rattler started at Oklahoma and then started for half a year at Oklahoma and then started for 2 years at South Carolina. And now he's been in the NFL for a year and a half and he started 10 games. He's 25 years old. For perspective, J.J. McCarthy's 22, Cam Ward's 23, Jackson Dart's 22, Jaden Daniels is 24, Caleb Williams is 23, Drake May is 23. Rattler's older than all these guys. The training wheels have to come off, and you got to see what you do. The ball's got to go down the field. We got to try to start making some big boy throws. Can't just flip everything out into the flat to Kamara. Can't just flip it out into the flat to Rashid Shaheed. Can't check everything down. You got to try to do something, and these are the 2 weeks to do it. You're at home. Listen to the Giants' defense. This is the defense you're facing. They're 23rd in scoring, 25th in pass defense, 29th in run defense, 26th in third downs. This is one of the worst defenses in the National Football League. It's time to go. And you've got an offensive line that, yes, Ruiz is hurt, but like your offensive line's been fairly healthy, relatively speaking. You've got Cooks, you've got Shaheed, you got Olave, you got Kamara, you've got Kendre Miller. Tight ends banged up, but you do have Juwan Johnson. Like, you've got guys. You've got your coach. You're 25 years old. We're 10 starts in. We're a year and a half in. If you can't do it against the Giants and the freaking Titan or the Patriots over the next 2 weeks, I got to go to Shuck. I have to. I can't sit here and dilly-dally any longer. Because, oh, by the way, speaking of age, like Tyler Shuck's older than Spencer Rattler. So I realize that 3 of your next 4 after these 2 are on the road, but I gotta see something. Because there's no development that you're seeing in just flipping the ball out to the perimeter, checking it down, running the ball, punting, and then coming up with 5 touchdowns on the season. It's not enough. And again, I'm not here to tell you that the first 10 starts, which yes, he is 0-10, but I'm not going to hold that completely against him. You were a complete mess last year. In 2 of these games, I didn't expect you to win anyway. It's not Spencer Rattler's fault that special teams didn't even show up in Seattle. And they've been competitive in the other 3 games. So this is not a disaster. It's not a hopeless thing. But you got to set some guidelines here, and you got to see some progression. Or else you got to make a move because you took Tyler Shuck in the second round and you got to see what you've got. And so this is not it's over. This is, okay, let's see it for 2 weeks. Prepare, get ready, put some stuff in the game plan that's a little bit more challenging and challenge him to get the ball down the field, to make some plays. You're not going to win in the NFL just dinking it around. You can if you're Trent Dilfer and you got the greatest defense anybody's ever seen with the Ravens. That's not the case here. And guess what? I mean, Rattler has a lot to lose here because this is his career you're thinking about and maybe his last chance to be a franchise quarterback if nobody else decides they're going to take a chance on him to be that. But as an organization with the Saints, like, if he goes out there and screws up, like, okay, he was 0-10 anyway. He was a 5th-round pick anyway. We got another guy anyway that we drafted in the second round anyway. So it's not like you took this guy first overall and you're saying if he doesn't swim the next 2 weeks, we've wasted the first pick in the draft. No, it's the opposite of that. You're actually going to give that guy an opportunity. This was a low-risk, high-ceiling play on Rattler. I would suggest to this point it has not borne any fruit. But at this point, I'm giving you 2 weeks to get it done. And if you do, and it looks a lot better, great. And if you don't, and it looks exactly the same or it gets worse when we try to dial it up in terms of degree of difficulty, Shuck's time. He's 26 years old. Let's go. You're going to at some point need a shot of life in that locker room. And it either comes because you win a couple games because Rattler starts playing better and everybody kind of gets a breath of fresh air and you move forward, or it comes because you're 1-5 and you put in the new quarterback and give him an opportunity to make this thing work. I'm fully aware that Kellen Moore knows a lot more about 1, football, and 2, Tyler Shuck and Spencer Rattler and their handle on the offense and what their reps look like at practice than I do. But I was perfectly fine giving Rattler every opportunity to start this thing. We're a month in. It's one of the least productive units in the NFL with a fairly healthy offense. How much worse can it get? You can't get any worse than 0-4, I promise. So the point being, like, I think it's time to see what you got. And if it's not good enough, that's okay. It's time to move on. And so you're playing 2 of the worst teams in the NFL on your home field, friendly crowd, not a hostile environment. Let's crank up the degree of difficulty and see what you can do. And if it's not good enough, Shuck's time. 2 weeks from now. 2 weeks for Spencer Rattler. That's what I think. So we'll see. I am excited to watch what happens on Sunday because while I don't have a huge degree of excitement watching them play the Seahawks or going to Buffalo, home game against a winnable team, I'm in for that. Let's see how it goes. Looking for Saints content? You can find ours, Hunt on Saints on YouTube, wherever you find your podcasts as well. And Ross Jackson's got you covered over at LouisianaSports.net. Got some great stuff up there today. Always 3-4 stories every day on the Saints from Ross over at LouisianaSports.net. So appreciate him for making that happen over there. It's all free if you're looking for it. Step aside, come back with Glen West, 24/7 Sports. When we're not, come back.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
One Bath and Closets. OneBathAndClosets.com is the website. David Duvall and his team, 30 years redesigning and remodeling bathrooms and closets. Closet space is an important deal. Maybe not to everybody, but to some. I didn't know about it in my house. Thought it was okay. Girlfriend at the time, now wife, moved in. Said, this is no good. We moved to remedy that problem, and she's been thrilled. You don't have to move. You locked in a great interest rate. You love your neighborhood, your neighbors. You want to stay there, but you feel like the closet space needs to be jazzed up a little bit. David Duvall and his team are happy to do it. They've been doing it for decades, and they're going to do it customized, timely, and it's going to be a gorgeous, gorgeous finish. You can see the pictures. They're great work at OneBathAndClosets.com. Start your process today with that free consultation. Starts with David, talk to you, gives you a questionnaire, show what you've got, what you're looking for, and he'll put something together that is completely tailored to your exact need and specifications. It's One Bath and Closets. You can find them online, OneBathAndClosets.com, OneBathAndClosets.com.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Daryl May of Trusty Properties. Looking for land to hunt or build? Call Daryl May at Trusty Properties.
Shows brought to you by Daryl May of Trusty Properties, licensed realtor in Louisiana and Mississippi. 1-1, Tigers and Guardians, game 1 of the American League Wild Card Series there in Cleveland. I always get a warm feeling in my heart when I see Cleveland Stadium there for a postseason game. Side of a pretty significant Cubs win back in 2016. Hopefully the Cubs start a little run like that in about an hour from right now. But let's talk some LSU football. Glen West, Go 24/7 senior writer, with us on Tuesdays talking Tigers. Glenn, how are you?
Doing well, Hunt. You don't want to talk about Hurley Brutus, the new LSU basketball 2026 commit.
Physical guard. I like the length. I like the frame. I like the physicality. Just needs to maybe polish up the scoring a little bit. But I'm aware of it. I liked it. I think if I spent too much time talking about it right now, might not go so hot in the executive offices here in Baton Rouge. Let's talk football. You were there in Oxford on Saturday. Just kind of a collapse early from the LSU offense. What'd you make of it?
Yeah, I mean, just exactly what you said. I mean, this was always going to be kind of the litmus test, I think, for a lot of people as to what steps maybe the offense could take in the first month of the season. And you did what you were supposed to do against Southeastern, and you're wondering if you could build off that performance. And instead, they took a massive step backwards. They start off the game with another 3-and-out. And I think the very first half, they didn't have a drive that went over 5 plays, only ran 24 plays in the first half. And really, there were just so many opportunities that were missed too. I mean, you talk about the Nussmeier interception there. That was just a really poor mistake by him. And there were missed throws down the field to Chris Hilton. And there were, obviously couldn't have any pulse of a run game. The offensive line was missing blocks. There were penalties. It was just a complete mess of a first half for LSU on the offensive side of the ball. And by the time they got it together a little bit there in the second half, where they were able to put together 3 scoring drives, they had just left their defense really kind of out to dry, I think. And, they were on the field for 85, 90 plays. And against that Ole Miss defense and against that Ole Miss offense and Lane Kiffin, you're going to give up some points. And it just a situation there where they just ran out of time and didn't really look like an offense that is going to be capable of accomplishing all of its goals. But now you've got these 2 weeks here to where maybe you can start to claw out some answers. Maybe you don't. And if you don't, you're going to probably lose some more games. So this was about as bad as, you could have probably hoped the offense to play against, one of the 16th worst defense in terms of rushing again in Ole Miss. And there's just a lot that I think, they need to figure out here over the next couple weeks.
Where do they need to start figuring things out?
I think you have to start with the quarterback. I mean, Garrett Nussmeier, whether it's injury, whether it's just him not performing well, whether it's a mixture of the two, that version of Garrett Nussmeier is just it's a detriment to the offense. To be quite honest with you, they just have not looked the same from a pass game perspective. It was one of the things that you came into the season banking on, taking a big step forward, and instead, it's been a pretty big step backwards in terms of the efficiency, in terms of the explosiveness. And they just I know Nuss doesn't want to talk about what's ailing him. He didn't deny that nothing was wrong with him either in the press conference following the game on Saturday. So, I think there's probably a mixture here of him just not feeling all that great and it reflecting in his play, and certainly the decision making as well has been a little bit more passive. It's been very reserved and putting the ball into really compromising positions as a result. So I think they have to figure out here over the next couple weeks, how healthy can he get, or how well can they get this ship righted here with him at quarterback over the.
I think we lost Glen there. Had some technical issues with the internet there. I could sense it was coming, and then it eventually cut out there. So we'll continue to link up with Glen and get his thoughts on that. It's just I agree that the quarterback is the most important thing. You can find some things in the running game, but the strength of the team offensively has to be has to be the quarterback, has to be the passing game. That has to be good. Now, it can't be everything, because then the pass rush is going to get home and you're going to get into third and longs because incompletions are going to hurt you. You're going to have quick drives to put the defense back on the field too quickly. It can't be everything, but it needs to be the backbone. And it's just inefficient right now in really every way. So I think I have Glen back now. I think I agree with you on the quarterback there in the passing game. It's got to get better. What is the realistic hope for what the running game can become here?
I think just you have to start with the devotion to it. Like, I thought that early in the season, in that Clemson game in particular, LSU showed a willingness to run the football. I think they ran it 34 times in that game. You saw it in the Louisiana Tech game. They haven't always been efficient with it, but they've at least stuck with it at parts in the season. And I think probably the most inexcusable part of last weekend is just that they abandoned it pretty quickly. And against a defense that was only rushing 3 against a defense that was dead last in the conference in rushing yards. I think that's just really a bad form and bad game plan. And Brian Kelly admitted as much yesterday when he was talking with Paul Feinbaum. But I think probably for me, the thing that you have to do is just devote yourself to it a little bit more consistently going forward. And then, I'm not asking this thing to be, averaging 10, 12 yards on the ground. I think those days are long behind us now. But I think if you can just get it to be a little bit more efficient and more timely, then I think that's a winning recipe for this group. Obviously, the passing game has to get better, too, to complement this thing and make it to what I think LSU can be when it's at its best. But, 3rd and 3, you should be able to run up the gut and get 3 yards for a first down. We saw in that fourth quarter touchdown drive, which was the most impressive drive of the entire game for LSU. You had Juwan Johnson running for 8 and 7 yard gains. Harlan Berry finished it off with a 9-yard rush and a 6-yard rush for the touchdown. Like, if you're able to get some of those gains a little bit more consistently, then I think you have the makings of a little bit of a crisper run game, and one that I think can complement this offense if the passing game can get it together as well.
Obviously, Caden Durham's going to take a big chunk of those carries when he comes back, and he wasn't able to play on Saturday. But do you see Harlan Berry's role growing as the season goes on?
I think so, but I also said the same thing about Juwan Johnson after the Southeastern game. Like, I thought he could have had a bigger role going forward. Like, I think that they're in a position right now where outside of Caden Durham, they're trying to find that secondary complementary back that can really kind of take the top off of this thing and really help Durham out. And I think it's just been a different guy each week. Brian Kelly's talked about it a lot, that Frank Wilson likes to ride the hot hand in the backfield. And this last weekend it was Harlan, and that fourth quarter drive in particular. 2 weeks ago it was Juwan Johnson, and before that it was Durham. So I think that Durham is going to be your featured guy still. I think he's going to be somewhere around that 10, 11, 12 carry range. It's just about which of those two guys in particular. I think Barry and I think that Juwan Johnson are probably the two guys that you look at as, okay, which one of those two can really help step up and be a little bit more consistent. And look, I like a lot of what Barry does, but at the end of the day, he's a true freshman, and I think a big part of what LSU likes in these running backs is that they have to be able to pass block. They have to be able to do all the little nuances of the position, and I think until we see that on a more consistent level from Barry, he could have his role a little bit more limited, but he's definitely an explosive piece that I think LSU has to continue to explore opportunities to get him in space.
You feel any differently about the defense today than you did a week ago?
No, I don't think so. Like I thought that Ole Miss was going to score some points. I thought that they, I think your question to me last week was if you had given LSU 23 points, would they have taken it? And I thought they would, and I think 24 is the same thing. Like I think they would have taken that going into last week, and the yardage was a bit up. They got called for some penalties, but they were also on the field for 82 plays against the Lane Kiffin offense that's just really fast moving and very high powered and has a lot of pieces that can get you off of your game plan a little bit. And so I thought they held up well enough. I mean, they got off the field enough. They got a few turnovers there that were very beneficial to LSU at those certain points of the game. And I think the defense is at the very bottom of the laundry list of issues with this team right now. And I thought they got the most out of them that they could in that situation.
You got a gut feeling on a record for the season now moving forward?
Yeah. I mean, like I don't have much faith in this offense right now, and I don't know anybody that watched Saturday could feel like it's going to significantly improve. I think that they can improve, but I think this is a 3-loss team right now, and if they don't get things figured out, it could be a little bit worse. I mean, like they have to get a lot of these offensive issues fixed over the next couple weeks, and they're running out of time to get it done. So I think that's where I'm at right now. Are you kind of in the same boat?
Yeah, I think so. You've played the bad offenses on your schedule, and so you're going to have to keep up. I mean, even Arkansas and Vanderbilt, I don't think are very good football teams. Somebody would argue with me on Vanderbilt, and that's fine. But like they can score points. Like so, you can't count on holding them to 10. It's just that's very difficult to do. So. And then you go, well, yeah, but you can score on their defense. Well, Ole Miss's defense isn't any good, and you couldn't score on them. So it certainly feels different than it did a week ago. That's how quick things can change in this sport. It can be wild. But enjoy your weekend off, and we'll talk next week.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Hunt.
Glen West, senior writer at Go 24/7, looking for team coverage, recruiting coverage. They got you covered over there at Go 24/7. Come back, close out the hour. It's Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Genesis of Baton Rouge. GenesisofBatonRouge.com is that website. Every car that's on the lot is online at GenesisofBatonRouge.com. GV80 is my favorite of the Genesis. I'm a midsize SUV guy. That's their midsize SUV. Of course, I got 2 kiddos, got a couple of car seats, got plenty of room for that. Also very comfortable and doesn't feel like you're driving a tank. Now, some of you may like the feeling of driving a tank. My dad drives one of those. It's just massive. I don't even know how people can function in those. But I like the midsize. That's what they've got over there at Genesis. If that sounds like something you'd like to get behind the wheel of, go by and see them. Airline at PQ. See one of their brand ambassadors. Get behind the wheel. If you don't have time or it's a little bit out of your way to go over there to Airline at PQ, well, they'll come to you for a remote test drive. And if you decide that's what you want, they'll deliver the car to you. You don't even have to set foot on the lot if you don't want to. That's part of the convenience of Genesis. It's a luxury brand at a reasonable price. That is their model. Go by and see them. Genesis of Baton Rouge. Online at GenesisofBatonRouge.com.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Daryl May of Trusty Properties. Looking for land to hunt or build? Call Daryl May at Trusty Properties.
Tigers threatening in the 7th. Runners on the corners and nobody out. Tarek Skubal, 10 strikeouts against Cleveland. He is the best dude going from the left side. I guess Skeens would be the best dude going from the right side. They're pretty salty. Paul Skeens, not in the playoffs because his team is atrocious. Tarek Skubal's team got into the playoffs and barely. They backed in a little bit, but they made it in. And we'll keep you updated as those scores continue to file in. Cubs and Padres in 18 minutes from right now from the friendly confines. Beck, how are we feeling?
Not great.
Why?
Cade Horton's hurt.
Yes.
Haven't really hit well in the last
Who hasn't
month.
hit well?
Not really anyone.
The Cubs crushed the ball this weekend.
Okay,
when
I'm talking about the last month.
Well, I don't care about September the 1st at this point. It's September 30th.
Okay, but all right. Well, either way, PCA is like the lowest OPS of any
Had a great weekend.
qualifying major.
Hit his 30th and 31st home runs.
He did. It took him a while.
It did,
He's hit
but
like
he hit
150 in September.
He hit him.
He did.
Michael Bush hitting
We'll
it well.
see.
Seiya hit 2 home runs over the weekend.
Yeah.
Ian Happ is scalding hot.
Nico hit a home run.
Nico, second best batting average in the National
If
League.
he hadn't gone 0 for 5,
Listen
he
to
had
me
a chance.
just rattling off these Cubs that are just sizzling right now.
Yeah. I'm
Here's
not
the
feeling
problem.
good about the pitching.
Here's the problem. Problem's not the pitching.
It is the problem.
The problem is the Padres bullpen is absurd.
That is true.
Mason Miller is unhittable. He's not given up a run in 20 innings, which is absurd in Major League Baseball. He throws 103 miles an hour, and he's not even their closer. So if we are not winning after the 5th inning, we're going to lose that game. That puts a significant amount of pressure on the offense to get things rolling early on.
Nick Pavetta's been pretty
Nick
darn
Pavetta's
good.
very good. Here's my thing with Nick Pavetta. This is what I'm hoping for. He's a hothead. He will lose it, and he's pitching to a catcher today who has not caught one pitch from him all year. His catcher, who's caught him all year, is hurt, broke his hand. He's out. I like that. I think Pavetta might blow a gasket today on the mound at Wrigley. I would like that very much.
We need that. We'll need something because
the Cubs have not won a playoff game since 2017.
Yeah, that's correct.
Which seems preposterous because when they won the World Series in 16, after an incredible run in 15, I was like, this is going to be like child's play. We're going to be awesome for 10 years. We were not awesome for 10 years. Those dudes got back to the playoffs one time in 2020, which didn't even count. And they kind of got to the playoffs in 2018. It was a play-in, and they got beat and didn't win one of those games. So I'm very excited. I don't know how enjoyable my game watching is going to be for this game. It starts in 12, 15 minutes, and then I'm on the air.
Yeah.
And then after that, I'm going to have to run up, get auto locks posted on the website, and then go take Myers to a haircut. So I'm probably going to have to listen to a lot of the game on the radio or through my phone. A squeeze play. Love to see that. That's playoff baseball. The 2:08 start time is not ideal.
No, it's not.
For me in this
It's not ideal
job.
for many people really at all. I mean, most people work until at least 5 o'clock.
I'll tell you who it's ideal for is for my buddy who's at a work conference in Chicago that he just left the conference.
Wow,
and
you're
went to Wrigley.
you're just outing him on live radio, huh?
I don't know that that his higher ups are locked into the Hunt Palmer.
No, you
show.
never know, huh? Like you always say, you never know who's listening.
You never know. But he bailed. He's going to Wrigley.
That sounds great. Probably nice weather right now.
I mean,
Probably
I
like
checked.
60.
I checked the weather. The high today is like 74, 75.
gracious. Oh,
it's
man.
bright sunshine, not a cloud in the sky. The cold pops at Murphy's right now have just got to be freezing cold. The cans that they serve you up there, you got to love that. Cubby Bear
All right,
popping.
you just need to
Old
stop.
Crow.
Just stop, hon. I don't want to hear.
Wrigley's
anymore.
going to be buzzing. I think we're going to beat the Padres.
I don't know.
Padres don't hit lefties. Boyd's lefty. Shota's lefty.
Okay.
We got guys at the back end of the bullpen who are awesome. Keller is great. I just wish he was going to be here for a little bit longer and that my Keller was more than 6 months
That's
old.
true. That's
so that I
true.
could get him something substantial with the Keller on
Yeah,
it. But he's a
yeah.
reliever, so he'll probably be terrible next year
Probably.
and not be on the team. And then Keller won't even be one yet. So
Yeah, that's true.
at that point, you don't get the jersey.
We had an issue with Hazel. We got 2 Rizzo onesies for her. They're probably too big, but I didn't care. So we need to be on her by 2 o'clock. One of them needs to be on her, preferably the pinstripes by 1 o'clock, by 2 o'clock. She was not having it, taking a nap, waking up and screaming immediately.
That's not really playoff performance.
It's
by
not.
Hazel.
It's
That's
really not.
complaining, excuses, and this is more of a St. Louis Cardinals type of
It
attitude
is.
that she's having.
It is.
Just thinking that she's too good for the onesie.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can't have that.
No, we
That's-
can't.
That's not what we're looking for.
I'm
in
going to
any
have to
way.
coach her up,
Neither one of my kids own any Cubs clothing.
which is I still just can't believe at all.
Myers sometimes takes a nap in Alyssa's Cubs shirt, which is way too big, but he
Yeah.
likes to take a nap in it. That's about it.
This needs to be changed, huh? I'm not sure what's going on here, but
I haven't been to Wrigley in eons, so what do I know? When was my last game there? Was in 2022.
yeah. I went to a game earlier this year.
That's offensive.
It's a great one.
I wish I was there for this one, but I won't be. But hopefully the Cubs win. 2:08 First pitch time from Wrigley. Padres and Cubs will be Matthew Boyd on the bump. Keep you posted on the scores. As I mentioned, the Tigers taking a lead on the Guardians in Cleveland. Tarek Skubal on the mound. Got a lot to get to in hour number 2. Colin Jeter, former Tiger tight end, and with the LSU Alumni Association, will be with us coming up here in 5 minutes. We'll talk to Sharif Ishak about the Saints coming up in 35 minutes, and I'm going to rank LSU's SEC games from easiest to most difficult, which I did at LouisianaSports.net. I'm going to do that on the air coming up in 20 minutes. So lots and lots to do. If you missed any of hour number 1, catch it on demand wherever you find your sound. Just search Hunt Palmer Show, like, subscribe, rate, and review. We certainly do appreciate that. Let's step aside for some national headlines from Sports Center. Come back with Colin Jeter next on the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.